Picture this. You're living in the perfect neighborhood, shiny houses, lawns trimmed just right. But underneath all that glitz, there's a nightmare waiting to mess up your life. I'm Malik Thompson, 38 years old, a black guy who grew up in the red dust of South Atlanta. Never in a million years did I think I'd end up the target of a no-holds-barred war in the very home I busted my tail to own. A little garage, a quiet home office. That's all I wanted here in Pinewood Grove. But then she showed up, Margaret Steele, HOA queen, rolling in with her silver BMW and a license plate screaming Maggie RULZ, bringing her power trip right into my peaceful world. What do I do to fight this over-the-top tyrant who thinks she's above the law? Drop a comment with the number 9 to join me in this wild battle. Okay? And don't forget to like the video and subscribe so we can chase justice together down the road. Right now, I'm a software engineer, mostly typing code in a corner of my house out here in Pinewood Grove suburbs. Working remote keeps me away from those nosy stares and whispers like, "Does he even belong here?" The kind I got used to as a kid. I keep my yard spotless, grass cut nice, and even trying to be a good neighbor or really just invisible in this picture-perfect area. But Pinewood Grove isn't just full of pretty houses. It's got an HOA crew that's way too intense, acting like their control goes beyond any law. I bought this place 4 years ago, thinking I'd finally found some peace after scratching my way out of the slums folks tie to my skin color. The old owner turned the garage into a home office with big windows. Perfect for my job. Still room to park one car in there, plus a little spot out back for a second if I need it. Everything was fine until Margaret Steele moved in next door and wormed her way onto the HOA board just 8 months later. Margaret, or Maggie, as she likes people to call her, though she always introduces herself with that bossy Mrs. Steele board member vibe, is probably around 60. She's got short, sharp brown-dyed hair and always wears bright outfits to flaunt her classy look. She drives this shiny silver BMW SUV with that custom Maggie RULZ plate. Every time I see it, I want to laugh, but behind that chuckle, there's this unease I learned to feel long ago, living around folks who aren't used to me being around. Trouble started with the small stuff. One day, Margaret knocks on my door, staring down the cactus pots on my porch. "Malik, these aren't on the approved plant list around here," she says, all sweet but with icy eyes. I shrug, move them out back, figuring I'll keep the peace. Then she emails me, griping that my trash been sat on the curb 45 minutes past pickup time. A serious violation by HOA rules. I drag it in earlier even though I'm starting to feel boxed in. But with Margaret Steele, there's always something new. My porch light's too bright and bugs her. The rocking chair in my backyard doesn't fit the neighborhood vibe. Even the time I parked out front for a day while unloading stuff ruins the curb appeal, she says. Every time I get a paper notice or a text, sometimes a visit where she stands so close I can smell her perfume-heavy breath. "Malik, you know we've got standards to keep up," she'd say, like she's schooling a kid. "You don't want folks thinking this place is slipping because of you, right?" The way she lingers on "you" always gives me chills. A silent jab that I'm an outsider to her. I stay quiet, handle each complaint, try to dodge a fight. But it all blew up one Thursday afternoon when a storm rolled through. I'm on a video call with my boss, going over a big project, when a car horn blares from my driveway. It goes on for 10 minutes straight, forcing me to apologize and run outside, throwing on a raincoat. Margaret's in her silver BMW, parked blocking my driveway, honking like crazy and glaring at me through the windshield. I step out, wind slapping rain in my face, and she rolls her window down just enough to yell without wetting her hair. "Malik, move your damn car now. I can't leave mine on the street in this weather," she shouts. I freeze, rain dripping down my collar. "This is my driveway, Margaret. What are you doing?" She smirks, a smirk that chills me to the bone. "My street's flooded, and I'm not ruining my car. You've got that big garage you don't even fully use. Don't be selfish, especially you." Her words hit like a punch. "Especially me?" I echo, voice dropping low. "My car's in the garage because I just hauled groceries in, and the back spot's empty." "Sure, but that doesn't give her the right to take over." "I'm in a work meeting, Margaret." This is my property, and you're not parking here. Her face went stiff, eyes narrowing like she was sizing me up. Who do you think you are, ordering me around? She snapped. I'm reporting this to the board. You should be grateful to even live here, Malik. Don't make this harder than it needs to be. She floored the gas, deliberately backing through a huge puddle, splashing mud up to my knees before peeling out. That night, my inbox lit up with an email from the HOA. Subject line in bold, Draft Emergency Property Sharing Rule. It demanded that anyone with extra space open it up to neighbors during bad weather situations. Margaret Steele's name was slapped on it as the proposer, her digital signature sitting there like a threat. I read it over and over, blood boiling in my veins. This wasn't just about parking. It was a blatant plot to legitimize stealing my property, targeting me because I'm the only black guy in this neighborhood. I shot an email to my lawyer friend, Anita Brooks, who confirmed my gut feeling right away. They've got no legal right to force you to give up private property, Malik. This is abuse of power dressed up as rules. Anita helped me draft a sharp reply to the whole board, not just Margaret, calling out their scheme and warning of legal blowback. I hoped that punch would make them back off, but I underestimated how shameless Margaret Steele could be. The next Saturday afternoon, I'm driving home from the store, still weighed down by that email. As I turn into my driveway, I nearly drop my groceries when I see Margaret's silver BMW SUV parked smack in my garage. Not the outdoor spot, but the enclosed space I use as my office. The garage door's wide open, like I'd invited her in. No sign of Margaret anywhere. I sit frozen in my car for 20 minutes, hands gripping the steering wheel, trying to wrap my head around it. How'd she get in? Then it hits me. 9 months ago, during an HOA safety check, Margaret insisted on seeing my garage's electrical setup, claiming fire risks could affect the whole area. I'd naively given her the keypad code, never thinking she'd turn it into her personal key to invade my home. Taped crookedly to the garage door was a note. Malik had an urgent board meeting. My street's blocked for sidewalk repairs on Cedar today, so I borrowed your garage since you weren't home. Don't make a fuss, Maggie. I stood there, hands shaking as I held the paper, fury exploding in my chest. She didn't just barge into my property. She left a note like I'm her servant, some black guy who should be thankful to live next to her. This wasn't entitlement anymore. It was outright contempt, wrapped up as good neighbor nonsense. I slammed the garage door shut, stormed inside, and changed the keypad code on the spot. Didn't stop there. I cut the power to the automatic opener, making sure no one's getting in without a physical key. Then I texted Margaret, short and icy. You entered my garage without permission. Code's changed. Call me when you're back. We'll sort out this trespassing mess. For hours later, my phone buzzes. Malik, open the garage now. My car's still in there. Her text dripped with that bossy tone, like I'm supposed to jump when she says so. I let 25 minutes pass before replying. Busy working. I'll be free in 2 hours. From now on, don't step on my property without written consent. I hit send, heart pounding, knowing she wouldn't let it slide that easy. 15 minutes later, my doorbell starts screaming like a fire alarm. I check the security cam. Margaret's on my porch hammering the bell, yelling into her phone. Rain's still falling, soaking her white coat, but I'm in no rush. I let her stew out there for another 40 minutes, listening to the bell and her shoes stomping on my welcome mat. When I finally open the door, she looks like a bomb about to blow. Face red, eyes wild, wet hair plastered to her forehead. This is outrageous, Malik, she roared before I could even speak. I've been out here nearly 2 hours in the rain, freezing, because of your stupid game. You locked my car in there. I'm calling the cops right now. You think you can bully me just to prove some point? I crossed my arms, leaned against the door, keeping my voice steady even though I wanted to yell back. Call the cops for what, Margaret? For you breaking into my property? For you abusing a one-time security code I gave you for an electrical check and using it like your own house key? Or because you think a black guy like me doesn't get to protect what's his? If anyone's calling the law, it's me. She gritted her teeth, jabbing a finger in my face. Don't twist this. I had an emergency meeting because of the storm. My street was blocked. I had no choice. You're supposed to share. That's community rules. No choice. I let out a dry laugh, voice sharp as a blade. You've got a phone, money, buddies on that fancy board. Don't tell me you couldn't call a ride or get help. This isn't an emergency. It's you stomping on me because you think I won't push back. You're wrong. Open the garage now, Malik. I don't have time for your nonsense, she shouted, her voice so shrill the neighbors could probably hear. I shook my head, locking eyes with her. Nope. First, you admit you crossed the line, that you invaded my property because you think you can control me because of my skin, because you don't think I belong here. Say it, then I'll open. She stepped closer, her breath hitting me with that overpowering perfume stench. You dare accuse me of prejudice? She hissed. I'm the one keeping this place civilized. You're the troublemaker. Neighbors help each other. But it seems you don't get that. Help each other? I laughed, voice dripping with sarcasm. You mean I'm supposed to bow down and let you boss me around, right? You want me to play nice like some servant just because I'm the only black guy here. I'm not doing that, Margaret. Admit you're wrong, or stand there another 2 hours, your call. Helping is when I agree, when you ask first, not you barging in and taking my stuff because you think you're entitled. I snapped, staring right into Margaret's eyes. Want me to open the garage? Admit right now you overstepped, that you targeted me because I'm the only black person here, and you thought I'd just roll over for your twisted control game. Margaret stood there, face red as a beet, practically exploding, her breath coming in short, sharp gasps in the cold rain. For someone who struts around preaching neighborhood order, getting called out like this was clearly a shock she never saw coming. Rain pounded the porch roof, mixing with the sound of her grinding her teeth. After a heavy silence, she spat through clenched jaws. Fine. I shouldn't have gone in your garage without telling you. Now open it? Or do you want me out here all night? It wasn't an apology, just a forced admission. But I knew that's as far as she'd bend. I gave her a cold nod, pulled out my phone, and open the garage through the app, and delete that old code from your phone. It's useless now, but I don't trust you not to keep it for more of your dirty tricks. She glared at me, hands trembling as she fished her soaked phone from her coat pocket, opened her notes app, and deleted a string of numbers right in front of me, her eyes blazing like she wanted to burn me down. I hit the button to lift the garage door. The motor hummed as it rolled up, and Margaret practically shoved past me, not saying a word, climbing into her silver BMW. She floored it, reversing out like a maniac, tires squealing on the wet pavement, nearly smashing into the neighbor's trash can before disappearing around the corner. I thought that'd be the end of it, but the next morning, as soon as I opened my eyes, I saw an HOA notice plastered to my front door, ink smudged from the night's rain. It read, "Your home office violates residential rules and must be converted back to a garage within 20 days. This wasn't a warning anymore, it was a full-on attack. I've got legal renovation permits from the previous owner, approved by the city 5 years before I bought the place. In the 4 years I've lived here, the HOA never said a peep about it. Now, just one night after I stood up to Margaret, they pull this, a blatant retaliation move, reeking of corruption and bias. I called my lawyer, Anita Brooks, right away. After looking it over, she snorted over the phone. They've got no legal leg to stand on, Malik. This is illegal retroactive enforcement, and I'd bet my house they're targeting you because you won't be their little puppet for that shameless whiteboard." Anita whipped up a razor-sharp response letter, citing state laws and threatening a lawsuit if they didn't drop this harassment nonsense. That night, as I sat reviewing documents with a cup of coffee, an engine roared outside my driveway. I glanced at the security cam and couldn't believe my eyes. Margaret's silver BMW was back, parked bold as brass in my garage. The door was still open. I'd brought boxes in from my car 45 minutes earlier and forgot to close it. I shot up, staring at the screen as she stepped out, white coat flapping, then strolled down the street like she owned the place. No note, no explanation, just pure arrogance from someone who thinks I won't do a damn thing because of my skin. Rage hit me like a tidal wave, but I kept my cool. If she wants a war, I'll show her I'm not some pushover. I shut the garage door through the app, ran to my car, and sped to the hardware store. 90 minutes later, I was back with a thick steel padlock and a set of reinforced hinges. I bolted them to the inside of the garage door, locking it tight with a physical key, making sure no code could crack it from outside. This wasn't just about protecting my stuff. It was a statement that I'm done letting anyone trample me. I sat in the living room, lights dim, clutching a cold coffee, eyes glued to the window. Margaret came back 3 hours later, her steps heavy on the wet pavement. Under the streetlight, I watched her punch the old code into the keypad. Obviously she'd lied about deleting it, then freak out when the door didn't budge. She smacked the keypad, muttering something, then yanked out her phone, probably to double-check. After 5 failed tries, she stormed to my front door and pounded the bell like she wanted to break it. I counted to 40 in my head, took a deep breath, and opened the door with a calm face. "Margaret, what's all the noise about?" I asked, voice light but edged. She flashed a fake smile, lips trembling from cold and fury. "Is your garage broken or something? I need my car now. Open it." I crossed my arms, tilted my head. "Your car's in my garage again. No permission, after everything I said yesterday? Who do you think I am? Some fool you can boss around because I don't match your skin tone." Her forced smile wavered, lips pressing tight like she was hiding panic. "I was in a rush, you weren't home, the door was wide open. I figured leaving it there 4 hours wouldn't kill anyone," she said, voice shaky but still dripping with that high and mighty attitude. "Wouldn't kill anyone?" I roared, stepping closer, rain hitting my face but doing nothing to cool the fire inside. "We just talked boundaries yesterday, Margaret. You trespassed, took what's not yours like it's nothing. Because you think a black guy like me won't stand up to your filthy power trip?" She took a step back, eyes flashing with rage. "Stop messing around, Malik. Open the garage now. The board meeting ran late and I need to get home." Her voice cracked, practically screaming over the howling wind. I crossed my arms, voice ice cold. "I put a steel padlock inside the garage door. For security, you get it? After all the times you've barged in like I'm your slave, I had to lock it down tight." Margaret's eyes went wide, her face paling under the streetlight. "You dared trap my car in there? That's theft. You've got no right to hold my property," she yelled, raising her hand like she might slap me. "Theft?" I smirked, voice sharp as a blade. "I'm protecting my property from a repeat intruder. You parking here without permission doesn't give you any rights. But don't worry, I'll open it tomorrow morning at 10. Go wait it out." 10 in the morning? She shrieked, her voice piercing through the rain. "You're insane. I need my car now. I need you to respect my property and privacy too. But life doesn't always go your way, does it?" I tilted my head, voice steady but loaded with defiance. "You send fake notices, cook up dirty rules to target me, then invade my property again like I'm beneath you because of my skin. This is the price you pay." She yanked her phone from her pocket, fingers shaking. "I'm calling the cops right now. You'll regret messing with me." "Go ahead," I said, shrugging without a flinch. "I've got cameras catching every second of you breaking into my garage. A recording from yesterday when you admitted you were wrong, and Anita Brooks, my lawyer, ready to tear your overreaching board apart. The police'll love seeing how a white lady's been harassing me with her power trip." She stared at me, gripping her phone tight, breathing heavy like a cornered animal. After a tense minute, she slowly lowered her hand, her eyes flickering with helplessness mixed with hate. "You're not off the hook yet," she growled, her voice low and thick like a curse. "The board'll make you pay." "Can't wait," I shot back, voice firm. "They'll all hear about it, my lawyer, the local paper, whoever needs to know. I've got proof. Every lying notice, every threatening text, every clip of you waltzing onto my property like it's some free-for-all. Want a big fight? I've been ready for a while." My words hit like nails in the air, and for the first time, I saw Margaret's arrogance crack. She turned on her heel, stumbling on the wet pavement, probably off to find a ride, her white figure fading into the rain. Next morning, I woke at dawn, gearing up for a new battle. Right at 10, an engine roared outside. I peeked through the window and saw not just Margaret but two others from the HOA board. Clarence Reed, an old silver-haired guy who always plays nice, and Vivian Hayes, an ambitious newbie who joined the board 7 months ago. Margaret had rallied her crew, her face set like stone, ready to make me the neighborhood's public enemy. I took a deep breath, hands trembling as I unlocked the steel padlock inside the garage, then stepped out front, heart pounding like I was heading into a showdown. The group closed in, Margaret leading, her face hard as granite, eyes blazing with a mission to crush me. "Morning," I said, keeping my voice cool despite the fire raging inside. 10 sharp, I see. On time for what, exactly? Margaret ignored the greeting, stepping closer, her perfume stench hitting me again. "I brought board members to witness this, so no one can twist the truth about the filthy game you're playing." I smirked, tilting my head. "Great. More witnesses, the better. Let them see who's the intruder, who's abusing power. Garage is open. Grab that car you shoved in there, but don't expect me to bow to you again." The garage door rumbled up behind them, the sound echoing in the damp air. Clarence Reed and Vivian Hayes stood there, faces tight, eyes darting between me and Margaret like prey caught in a wolf pack. They knew they'd stumbled into a bigger mess than they'd bargained for. Clarence stepped forward, forcing a weak smile. "Malik, Margaret told us about the recent trouble. Why don't we sit down, talk this out like civilized folks instead of letting it get so tense?" "Civilized?" I snapped, locking eyes with him. "I'm all for talking, but let's get this straight for everyone to hear. Margaret keeps breaking into my property, treating my garage like I'm her slave, then hitting me with dirty complaints when I speak up. Now she's using HOA muscle to choke me out. A black guy daring to stand up to her rotten system. I've got all the evidence, and Anita Brooks, my lawyer, is ready to shred this if it comes to it." Clarence raised an eyebrow, turning to Margaret, voice shaky. "You parked in his garage multiple times without asking?" Margaret flung her arms up, her voice shrill with contempt. "It was an emergency. He's blowing it all out of proportion, then locked my car in there for some power play. A guy like him doesn't know a thing about community. Here's the truth," I cut in, voice slicing like a knife. "I locked the garage to protect my property from a shameless intruder." She waltzed in again. "That's on her, not me. Don't act like this is about community when you just want to keep me down because I don't match your skin tone." Vivian frowned, stepping forward, voice nervous. "Margaret, you told us he agreed to lend the garage, then flipped and trapped your car. What I'm hearing now is totally different." Margaret's face went scarlet, lips pressed so tight they might crack. "I left a note the first time. He's got no right to blow this up like this. A note isn't consent," I yelled, jabbing a finger right at her. "This time you didn't even bother leaving one. Just took over my garage like I'm your servant. This is your blatant contempt for a black guy daring to live in this neighborhood." Clarence cleared his throat, trying to play peacemaker. "Margaret, get your car already. We should take this to the community center, not hash it out in the street like this." Margaret shot me a look that could kill, but finally stormed over to her now free BMW. She slammed the door so hard the windows rattled, then peeled out at a crazy speed, nearly running over Vivian's foot, forcing her to jump aside. That night, I got home after 90 minutes running errands, and my heart stopped when I saw Margaret's silver BMW parked smack across my driveway. Not in the garage, but blocking every way in or out. This wasn't a game anymore. It was a declaration of war, a deliberate harassment move from a power-tripping bully trying to break me. I pulled out my phone, snapped pictures from every angle, timestamped them, then called the police hotline. That wasn't enough. I rang a towing company too, voice shaking with fury. Officer Darren Tate showed up after 35 minutes, his face all business as I laid out the whole mess. I showed him the camera footage from her past break-ins, the HOA emails, and that retaliatory garage notice. A pile of evidence exposing Margaret's harassment pattern. "She's doing this because I'm the only black guy here," I said, voice low but steady. "She thinks I'll cave to her overreaching board. She intentionally blocked your driveway with her car after you'd warned her multiple times not to park on your property? Darren Tate asked, his voice deep and sharp, eyes locked on me like he was double-checking every detail. Exactly, I said, gripping my stack of proof tight. This is straight-up revenge because I locked my garage, stopped letting her use it like it's hers. She thinks a black guy like me can't fight her rotten system. Darren nodded, scribbling fast in his notebook, a flicker of seriousness in his eyes. I'll log this and talk to her right now. He headed to Margaret's house, leaving me by the car, heart pounding in my chest. Through her foggy window, I saw her silhouette flailing her arms, her yelling echoing out, though I couldn't make out the words. The showdown lasted 25 minutes, tense enough I thought she'd smash the glass. Finally, Darren came back, face calm but eyes hinting at doubt. She says it's a misunderstanding about some shared parking rule in the area, he said, voice even but with a touch of sarcasm. I ordered her to move the car immediately and banned her from parking on your property without clear handwritten permission from you. This is officially logged. If you need to prove ongoing harassment, it'll help big time. If the car's not gone in 20 minutes, call the tow truck. It's your private land, he stressed. I laid it out straight to her. Margaret burst out of her house 8 minutes later, her glare like daggers aimed at me, stomping like she wanted to crush the sidewalk. She climbed into her silver BMW, reversed at a wild speed, tires screeching, nearly hitting a pole before speeding off in a rage. The next night, a thick envelope sat in my mailbox, the HOA seal glaring red like blood. Inside was a notice for an emergency meeting the following evening. Main topic: property violations and community defiance. Margaret's messy signature sprawled at the bottom, a final war cry from someone trembling as she lost control. I walked into that meeting with Anita Brooks, my lawyer, striding and ready to fight. When Margaret saw us, her face went pale, then flushed red, eyes darting like a cornered animal. She jumped up, voice shrill. We're here to protect this neighborhood's standards from threats like Malik Thompson, people who won't cooperate for the common good. I hit back by handing out a fat stack of docs. Videos of her garage break-ins, retaliatory notices, power-abusing emails, everything that left her stunned. Other residents started speaking up, voices shaking with anger. One talked about random fines. Another called out fake complaints after clashing with Margaret. Her plan to rally the community against me backfired fast, turning into a public reckoning of her shady moves and dictator vibes. This is about rules, not personal stuff, Margaret screamed, her voice breaking with panic. Clarence Reed stood up, voice low but firm. No, Margaret, this is about the whole neighborhood's concerns, and it's way bigger than your parking stunts. The meeting ended in chaos with a decision to overhaul how the HOA runs. At the official meeting 10 days later, Margaret got booted from the board, and Clarence was voted in as the new chair, promising a fairer setup with no more oppression vibes. Not long after, just 5 weeks post-meeting, Margaret put her house up for sale. The day she left, I stood by my window, watching her silver BMW, packed with stuff, roll down the street. Our eyes met through the glass. I gave a slight nod, like a goodbye to a beaten foe. She looked away, hit the gas, and that Maggie Arles plate flashed one last time before disappearing for good. I never saw Margaret steal again, but the rotten legacy she left behind forced the HOA to change, united a neighborhood against power trips and ugly prejudice. My garage doesn't have that steel padlock anymore, but the security cameras still glow, a reminder that I won, and these lessons won't ever be forgotten. Malik Thompson's story shines a light on a harsh truth in today's world. Beneath the polished surface of so-called civilized neighborhoods, racism, abuse of power, and corruption still lurk, ready to threaten anyone who dares speak up. Malik's journey, from a quiet coder to a fierce justice fighter, proves the strength of sticking to your guns and the power of a community standing together against unfairness. His story teaches us this. Don't stay silent when you're oppressed. Use evidence, the law, and support from folks around you to take back what's right. In today's world, where tech captures every moment and collective voices can shake up systems, Every one of us has the power to face down the Margaret Steeles in our lives. Just a heads up, this tale's here for entertainment and learning, not to judge, bash, or offend anyone or anything. It's a nudge to keep building a fairer, more decent society together. What do you think about this story? Drop your thoughts in the comments below this video. Hit that like button, share it around, and don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss any more gripping tales. Thanks for watching all the way through today. Wishing you a peaceful day, and I'll catch you in the next video.